On today's episode, Mike and Ryan discuss how to get into homebrewing on a tight budget. Cheers. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Brewthers-In-Law podcast, where beer is thicker than water. Join us on a journey discovering homebrewing, craft beer, and more. I am here, being Mike. I mix this backwards. I mix this up. Me being Mike, I'm here with my brother-in-law, Ryan.
Okay, it is episode 4.
Ryan, hello.
We've been drinking for, what time is it? It is, we've been drinking for about 5 hours now.
We're going to have to retake this one. All right, yes, yeah. We this is our first time ever marathoning more than 2 episodes in a day.
And this is why we don't do it.
It's been a thing. So, on today's 4th episode, we are discussing brewing on a budget. So, we're going to be playing sort of a game where we challenge each other to, within a budget, acquire all of the supplies necessary for one's first batch of home brewing.
Mm-hmm.
Home brewing being a hobby that as we were just discussing off the air, a lot of people might be interested in, but hesitant to get into because of the perception that there's a high startup cost.
Yes.
So, Ryan, today's first sip, what is another hobby aside from homebrewing that you are interested in, but have put off getting into due to its high startup cost?
So mine has been a interest of mine to be it was a hobby. It kind of died off a little bit because I got out of high school and I realized I have, life expectancy. But when I was in high school, I was a lot into fast cars. I was in in cars in general. And for a while afterwards, I was very interested in wanting to work on cars.
Oh, okay.
And I had
not as a career, but just like to kind of have a pet car you were fixing up.
So in my garage, I've seen it too. So I know it's possible. In your garage, you have a lift that comes up so you can work. So not only you can work on your car very easily, but you can store 2 cars, one on top of the other, easily without any issues. And I want to have a nice car. I love classics. I love the new versions. I love German and American. I love all the different types of cars.
You're an equal opportunity car lover.
Exactly. That would be the hobby I would love to do, but it's so expensive. And in the end, honestly, not as worth it because obviously a car is never worth what it was originally.
Right. You got to do it for the love of the game.
Exactly.
And
but there's a
lift
lot
like
of
that
money.
Would be a ton of
a lot of money in that one. What about you, Mike?
So for a while, I would have said skiing. No. But I ended up just getting some hand-me-downs, I believe.
I did the same.
Yes. So what I'm going to say that I am really into, I really like watches. And I've sort of dabbled in watch collecting.
Yes.
So I have a Fossil. I have the one I'm wearing right now is a Seiko. And I got, I found this Kickstarter with this cool NASA watch with this just looks like space.
Yeah.
So I've gotten those, but what I've really wanted to get into is the higher end, the kind of the continuous mechanism, the Swiss made, something like Hamilton or Tissot. And I just, when you look at the price of even the entry level watches from those brands, it's hard to justify. And so I have sort of remained at the fringes of that hobby. And the other thing too is, it's just I'm sure that somebody else might have a different response to this question, but how many do you really need before you have enough? It's it's when if you're trying different beers, you're going through them. Theoretically, if you buy a nice watch, you have it forever. So how many nice watches that you'll have forever do you need? And my response is, if you have ever seen Doctor Strange, have you know that moment when
I was literally going to bring this up.
He opens up that drawer
and they're spinning too.
They're all spinning and they're all spinning synchronized with each other. That is if I had $1 million kind of dream of mine, just to have a whole drawer of perfectly synchronized watch spinners with beautiful handmade watches on them. So yeah, that's mine.
I was literally gonna bring that up and like you want to be Doctor
It's so
Strange,
funny. Okay, I'm sorry for stealing your thunder.
Like,
I'm sorry for stealing your thunder. Yeah, that is like I'm sorry. It's a good movie. That is the best scene in the movie. It's so cool.
No, it is,
and it is just like such a nice little piece of character building too, because it like not only shows that he's like rich AF, but it also shows like how particular and like precise, you know, like it says a lot about his personality that he has that.
Because there's a scene in, I think it's Iron Man 2 where Tony Stark has the same thing, but like you don't see it. Like it's not. It's just like quick glance. He grabs a watch and goes. But like with Doctor Strange, it's just like
they really
see
focus
it
on it for a minute.
And it's just like, oh man,
they give you a little bit of eye candy. Like look how satisfying it is to watch all of these spin together.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That is a great one.
This is now a watch podcast.
I have to say, watch podcast / Marvel / beer / homebrew / Zelda /
Guinness
kombucha.
Anyway,
okay, so go ahead. I do have some listener feedback actually, real quick.
Okay.
So the first one we have from our friend Daniel McGar. He is with the Turn by Turn podcast. He sent out saying, I think it was a typo, but my dad just asked me if in The Mandalorian, quote, Mango Fett was a good guy. And he says, at Brewthers-In-Law, Mango Fett, could that be a good name for a mixed drink?
Absolutely.
It is. We did respond saying that is a mango wheat beer that I would love to make.
Yeah. Is there a wheat beer called Mango Unchained?
Yes, it's that, you should actually. The brewery, the shirt you're wearing underneath, with the dog.
Baffin?
Yeah, Baffin does it. Yeah,
really? Yeah, because that's Mango Fett is a great beer name.
Yes,
and we need to. Someone needs to make that.
Yes, I might dive into
Daniel.
that. Yes, thank you, Daniel.
Thank you for the wonderful idea.
The next one is from TikTok. It is from our Gateway episode. It is. Let me make sure I get this name right. User 4193875516343.
Well, the question is, was that user generated on TikTok or did he carry it over?
I'm assuming it's
maybe he carried it over from something else, you know?
Maybe.
Just like, you know what? This is my username on everything now.
He was super into Tron, so he wanted to be user, but he didn't want to be user. He wanted to be that way down the line.
Sure. Yeah.
But this person just said simply, great episode. Exclamation point.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I wanted to say that just because
proud of that episode. That was a good episode, yeah. And you know what? Hey, if we get so flooded with feedback that we can only read the really insightful ones, we'll be in great shape. But also, it's really nice to just read compliments. Yeah. It just makes me feel good.
I mean, if we get really, really bad, we always have our mother-in-law who always says a great episode.
This is true, yes. So, Ryan, why don't you sort of, particularly because I think you were the craftsman behind like turning this into a game.
Yes.
Would you please introduce the premise of this episode to everybody before we begin?
So, we wanted to find a way to help people who are interested in brewing, because this is a homebrew podcast for beginners and people who might have interest in it, not quite there yet. So we want to pitch this out there and be like, there is a way for you to do this.
This for relatively not that much. There are always going to be startup costs.
Yes,
there's no way around it.
Always startup costs, no matter what you do. If you're going to collect watches, it's a little higher. But if you're going to, there are some things that are a lot cheaper. So yes, but for this instance, we wanted to set the bar and make sure we stay at that bar. So we set the bar at $200. For $200, you had to get your equipment and get your ingredients.
Right. So you're making your first beer for under $200.
Yes, exactly.
With nothing.
Yes.
Well, I believe we described it as your house burned down and you have nothing.
Except for a kitchen.
We backed off of that a little bit.
And a sink still.
Yeah.
Yes. So we did set the tone because I was waiting for you to be like, wait a second, how are you going to warm up your wort without any heat?
Right.
So
where is my water? I actually did debate, like, am I going to have to buy water from the store?
Yes. But so you pretty much have no utensils. So no spoons, no kettle, no bucket, nothing. but you will have a heat source, so a stove or something like that, and you do have a water source as well. You have $200 to get your equipment, to get your ingredients, brew a beer, and you're done.
Okay.
So, and we're going to try, and each of us is going to try to get the other one, and each missing
We've
thing.
sort of turned this into a game. I asked Ryan, I was like, is this make the best beer you can for under $200? Or is this make a beer for as low as possible while staying under $200? And he kind of answered, but mostly just went, yes. So I also asked him after mine was totally done, and so was his. So like we've each kind of taken our own tack on this. And I think it should be really interesting.
I think this could be really, really interesting here. So I'll go first.
You're gonna go first.
I'll die first.
I love it. And I'm gonna rip your plan apart.
Okay. you try. Okay. So I do have references where I'm buying from, so if you want to spot check,
which is important because I found that like prices for things can vary wildly depending on where you're getting it from.
So, tools I need to brew. So I'm gonna get me a 5-gallon kettle for $20.
From
it is used from brewinternational.com.
Now, Ryan, how are you going to do that without a computer?
Stop it.
Or a cell phone.
The library. I'm going to the library. Okay, leave me alone.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
I'm going to get a bucket that has a spigot attached to it, and already has a lid with a hole drilled into it.
And you get that for how much?
$33.77
with a spigot.
With a spigot.
Dang, that's pretty good.
That is from Northern Brewer.
That's quite good.
I'm gonna get a bubbler, which is $3.29, also from Northern Brewer. A spoon. It is a what is it, 4-inch spoon? So 4 inches, like they're not big. I don't need to be that big.
You're giving yourself a lot of credit there, bud.
So the spoon is going to be $4.49. That is from homebrewing.org. A scale, which is for $3.99 from Amazon. Thank you for that one, because that was actually the hardest one to find.
Scale, interesting.
I'm going to get bottles. I'm buying 2 cases of Budweiser, 24 packs. They are $15 a piece.
It might be cheaper than actually buying.
No, it is
unused tone.
It really is.
Dang, man, that's a power move. I didn't think about that.
I'm gonna get 1 nylon bag for $1.79.
And because it's Budweiser, it's a screw-on, so you can just screw it right back on afterwards. You don't even.
Well, no, you can use a bottler on top of a screw-on. You just need to make sure you get to the bottom lip. Yes.
Because couldn't you just screw it back on?
Or
is it hard to make it airtight if you do that?
It's not as easy to get airtight. So there is a bottom lip that's a little further past where the twist is, where kind of like other bottles have that lip.
Gotcha.
You just have to make sure you get there.
So it's a better practice.
Yes.
Okay.
So on top of that, we got the nylon bag, $1.79. Not super expensive.
That is not bad.
Yeah. So siphon by itself is $18.99. And then a tubing to go with that, so you can siphon your beer to go into from the pot or from the kettle to the bucket. Bottle caps, which is like 100 pack for like $5.29. A capper, which is $20.99, and then some priming sugar for $2.69, and dry ice to help cool it. So instead of buying a actual like coil to put into it, I will put it into my sink or bathtub, fill it with cold water, and then put the dry ice in there to cool it.
Where do you buy dry ice from?
Meyer.
Real Meyer carries dry ice?
Yes.
Dang, okay. Wait, so hold on. I want to back up a little bit.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
How many bottles of Bud Light are you buying?
I am buying 2 cases of Budweiser.
2 cases of
so that's 50 beer. Oh, that'll be
48, right?
48
okay,
beers,
okay.
yeah.
Just making sure you weren't buying 2 12-packs, because that'd be BS. Because you can't. That's one thing we didn't discuss, is that this is a 5-gallon batch of beer.
Yes, this is a 5-gallon batch.
It's not a dinker little like 1-gallon batch. We're doing a 5-gallon batch.
Yes.
So okay, well, good on you.
So
I thought I got you, but I in fact did not.
So so far, minus the priming sugar, because I put that actually with my ingredients. So tools and all, I'm at $149.40.
Okay.
So ingredients, which will all be for Northern Brewer. I have my grains. I'm getting 2 pounds of two-row, which is 548 milled.
Okay.
And then I'm getting 3 pounds of Golden Light DME at $20.99. Not too bad. Hops, I'm getting 2 ounces of Cascade at $4.58.
Cascade.
And 1 ounce of Citra at $1.39 or $3.99.
Okay.
And then my yeast is going to be from Weast American Ale, which is $11.99. And as I stated, priming sugar will be there as well at $2.69. So my ingredients together would be $49.72, which puts me at $1.99 for total.
All right.
So I'm pretty much making my Impatient Bastard minus the tangerine peels because I could not afford them.
Maybe you can beg them off somebody eating a tangerine. Please, sir, may I have your peel?
I mean, I probably could have gotten to Meijer and got like oranges for like
I am then going to go to Meijer and steal an orange. A single mandarin orange. I'm going to put it in my pocket and walk out there with it.
So yeah, so I am at $199.12.
Wow, okay. Wait, so your recipe cost you $50 almost?
Yeah.
Dang, man. That's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, but it's mostly the DME. The DME is good. It's a $21 for that.
That's
so
true.
And then
I didn't realize that. DME could run like that, but it's probably a matter of scale, partially, right? Like, can you buy precisely how much DME you need, or do you need to buy extra?
You need to buy extra. Thankfully, I think my recipe is 2 pounds of the two-row and exactly 3 pounds of the Golden Light. So like there is no like if you got like 3.5 or 2.5 even, you're gonna have to get the 3 pound bag still. But yeah, so so
then let's think about this. So yeah, you got your brewing pot, you add your extract, you're heating it up, you steep your grains in your nylon bag, you add your hops.
Throw in the hops.
In your nylon bag.
Just throw in the hops. Just throw in the hops, yeah.
And then then you cool with your dry ice. And you pitch your yeast, and then when you're ready, you can pour back into your bucket with its spigot, or your kettle with its spigot, and then you add your sugar, your bottle. You paid for a capper, right?
I did pay for a capper.
Capper.
Yep.
Oh man, that checks out to me. That sounds good.
It was honestly, it was getting down to the because I had the last thing I was looking at was the scale and the how to cool.
How are you going to sanitize your equipment?
I'm just going to go with it.
You could just boil water.
I could. I mean, I had to anyways.
Just like transfer, I don't know, your plastic bucket, maybe, I don't know about that, but like everything else, you could just pour boiling water from one vessel to another. That'd clean it up pretty fine.
Now, the other thing I did not put in here and actually took out was the hydrometer with the cylinder in order to measure the gravities.
But to brew a batch of beer, you don't need to know for certain.
Exactly.
Like it's helpful to know that it's done. But like if you pitch healthy yeast and you wait 2 or 3 weeks, it's done.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. You might not know what percent it is, but you can assume you're hopefully in the ballpark. And it's mostly an extract recipe, which removes a lot of the uncertainty of your original gravity.
Yeah.
So
and then the other thing too, I did have 3 nylon bags. I cut it down to 1 because I was gonna do a bag for each of the hops, but I decided I'm just gonna siphon it through and just deal with it like I used to a lot of times.
Actually, I mean, a lot of people just pitch their hops in and don't worry about it and assume it'll. You either just leave it in the kettle because it'll sink, or during cooling, or it comes along and then it sinks during fermentation, doesn't make it into the bottle.
Exactly. So that's
totally fine.
So I think the other things that the scale was honestly the hardest one because I had to get that down really low. A lot of scales are like $20.
Yeah.
I dove deep into the Amazon corners and found one.
And now the scale was for measuring out what?
Ingredients, making sure ingredients are measured out correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. So that was the main one I wanted to get, and then obviously the bucket and the kettle. The kettle was crucial finding it at $20 because usually they're like $50 or $60.
Right.
So
that's actually so that was what, a 5-gallon kettle with a spigot, you said?
No, 5
or the bucket.
Has a spigot, and it has the hole, the lid with the hole in it.
Kettle at $20 is pretty darn good.
It was used. That's why it wasn't as bad as it was.
Order now.
Order right now. This moment.
Following Ryan's logic. All right, cool. Well, hey, that's successful.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Yeah. Like I said, I think we talked about this off recording, but like I was sitting at 212.
And you had to just
knock it down.
I can find a kettle for cheaper than this.
Well, no, that's even with the kettle. It's when I'm like, okay, I'm going to get rid of the hydrometer and the cylinder. I'm going to only have one nylon bag and not 3. I'm going to find a cheaper scale and maybe and then I saw how much I had left over.
It'll be interesting to see where you cut corners versus where I cut corners.
Yeah.
Because I cut them in very different places. And then there were some corners that I very hard didn't cut, which you'll see after the break.
Yes. Well, with that, let's go to the break real quick. We'll come back, we'll do yours, and then we'll do
a little more discussion.
Other ideas that could be out there. So, until that, cheers.
Hey there, podcast listeners. I am David.
And I'm Kate.
And together we host a podcast that you might be interested in if you like The Legend of Zelda.
There are lots of awesome podcasts out there and a lot of awesome Zelda podcasts out there.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. In fact, that is the name of our show, Another Zelda Podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We do a couple top 10 lists here and there.
We have some deep dive episodes, and we even pepper in a couple quiz episodes.
We talk about our own experiences, we do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. If it has to do with The Legend of Zelda, we talk about it.
You can check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a lot of the other podcast services that are out there.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye!
Psst, hey you, come over here.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
Hey, do you like Zelda?
Yeah, I like Zelda. Who doesn't?
Oh yeah? You like video games?
Yeah, I dabble, I play them, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like listening to people talk about video games?
Of course I like listening to people. Who reads anymore?
Well, buddy, do I got a podcast for you. It's called Fan Fiction, with an X.
Oh.
And you can find it on all your major podcast distributors.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, buddy, you have no idea.
One question, though. Why are you in my room?
And we are back. So, I gave my plan. Mike, what is yours on your Excel spreadsheet you got over there, you engineer?
Okay. Well, I did print out an Excel spreadsheet. So I will say that you had what? You had a buffer of 22 cents, right? 78 cents. I had a buffer of 70 cents, so very similar. But my setup is a brew in a bag kegged setup.
Okay.
Let's track this. It's going to get a little weird. So I did not find as good a deal as you. I have a 5-gallon stock pot for $35.
Okay, that's about what I've seen.
I believe a lot of this stuff, if I don't specify, a lot of it comes from my local homebrew store, which is Cadillac Straits. So yeah, believe I got that there. I then get a grain bag, a large like brew bag, not an on-brand one, but an off-brand one for $9.
Okay.
My fermenting bucket is a $5 5-gallon Home Depot paint bucket.
I knew you were going to do that one, yes.
I then need to poke a hole in the top of it to allow for the airlock.
How do you poke a hole?
So I will buy a $1 Phillips head screwdriver from Home Depot.
Yes.
I found a large stainless steel spoon, probably similar to your 4-incher, from Amazon for $2.37.
Nice.
I suppose we're assuming I have a Prime membership. Otherwise, I would have to pay shipping, and that throws my whole thing off.
I was about to say, I didn't put taxes in mine, so...
Oh, I didn't do taxes either. You don't worry about taxes until
exactly
after you're already checking out. I found an auto siphon for $10, I believe, from Cadillac Straits.
Nice.
An airlock for $2.50. And then since I'm poking my own hole, I need a grommet for the airlock, that little rubber piece.
Yes.
So that is 75 cents.
Okay.
So basically, I'm going to jam a hole with my Phillips head and then widen it until the grommet fits.
Yes.
Then I'm getting a pack of Star Sand sanitizer for $8 for a 4 ounce.
You're better than me.
On Amazon. And then a cleaning brush to clean my equipment for next time for $4. So
that's part of the next budget.
So that's my brewing and fermentation setup.
Okay.
And I that comes to about $74. Okay.
Dang. Okay.
So then
you better be making a hell
I
of a
am
beer.
doing, and I split this up because I didn't know if my kegging thing was going to work. I just from the start went, I want a keg. This is going to be stupid, but I'm going to try it. And so I saved up. I've got like alts for my like bottling version too, which I'll share after. But this is my lo-fi kegging version. So from Adventures in Home Brewing, which is in Ann Arbor, I can get a used 5-gallon keg for $45, which is a solid deal.
Solid deal. Yes.
Now the problem is CO2. So a full CO2 tank new is quite expensive. But there is this thing called an injector, which is basically, so imagine the little cartridges that you use for like your little carbonated growler.
Okay.
There's slightly bigger versions of those that go up to 16 grams.
Okay.
You can get a pack of those for $12. And then you can get something called an injector, which a ball lock injector. So it just basically it clips into a ball lock keg.
Okay.
So I'm on the CO2 out. You can clip one of those little tiny things in, and then there's like basically a little trigger that you push to push CO2 into your keg.
Okay.
So theoretically, the way that it works is if you have carbonated beer in there already, there's some pressure from the carbonation already, the pressure the keg's already at.
Yeah.
You can serve until basically you're out of pressure, and then my understanding is at least you just press that little trigger and it pumps more CO2 in so you can continue serving.
Okay.
So seems like it would be real sketch over a long period of time to like maintain the right pressure.
Yes.
But we're going to go.
In a pinch.
And then to serve out of, since I obviously wouldn't have a kegerator, I have a $10 picnic tap, which is one of those little handheld things.
Okay.
So that my lo-fi kegging setup goes for $104. So to compare, if I were to bottle instead, I wasn't smart enough to do Bud Light, so I'm getting 48 crown cap bottles, cappable 12-ounce bottles for $30.
Okay.
Then $5 for bottle caps, $17 for a capper. That's $52. So that is exactly half as expensive as my lo-fi kegging system.
Okay.
Further, if you wanted to do a hi-fi full kegging system, you get the keg for $45.
Okay.
Your CO2 regulator, I was able to find for $40 for the smallest version. Your refills would be cheaper, but $40 for like the rental and a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The regulator is $40.
Okay.
The tank, a used tank, is $70.
Okay.
But then every refill is only $20.
Yeah.
2 feet of gas tubing for $2. $10 for ball lock disconnects with those little worm clamps that use a screwdriver.
Yep.
Although, notable omission, I bought a Phillips head screwdriver and these require a flathead, which means I'll have to spend another $1. Well, okay. And then a $10 picnic tap. So basically, if you want to do full kegging, it is $73 more to do full keg compared to this lo-fi version with the little CO2 cartridge, right? And then if you want to do bottling, it's $52 less. So just to put it in perspective, like that's kind of the differences you're looking at.
Okay.
And if you switch out your ball lock keg for a pin lock keg, you can save an additional $10 to $20 from either kegging setup.
Okay.
So there it is. So now I don't have a lot of money left because
how about how much you sitting at right now?
I was being a bougie boy. So I've got about $18 left for a recipe, which I made work.
I'm intrigued at how this is going to work.
I am obviously going to make an American light lager.
Yes.
So I spent $2 on granulated sugar from Meyer.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, anything I just listed that I didn't name where I got it from was all from Cadillac Straight Supply House. So those are the prices on my
Shout
local
out to
homebrew
local.
shop.
Yeah.
Yep. So $2 for sugar. I am then going to go to Cadillac Straits, spend $9.18 on either Pilsner or Pale 2-row malt, depending on how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
At $1.53 a pound for only 6 pounds of grain. This is, again, I'm going to get it milled there. And this is my full grain recipe. Okay, no extract. I am then going to spend $2 on a single ounce of Cascade hops, and then $4.50 for USO5 dry yeast, which is USO5 is the same as American Ale, the one that you bought. It's like the Sierra Nevada Chico strain, I think is what it's supposed to be. But I'm doing dry yeast because I'm a cheapo and it's $4.50. So for the dry lager yeast, which would be better for my lager, whatever, like Chico is extremely clean. So I think it's close enough for my janky, but whatever. If you wanted a lager yeast, you pay an extra $1, which is too much. It would have put me over. If you wanted like a nice, my favorite lager yeast, which is Imperial L17 Harvest, that's $10, which is way over budget. So I have to go with my US05 dry yeast. So so the recipe is 6 pounds of crushed Pilsner malt or 2-row, 0.7 pounds of table sugar, an ounce of Cascade hops split between half an ounce at the start of the boil and then half an ounce at 15. That's 22 IBU. And then that's it. Then you pitch your yeast. So that's going to be a 4.1% 22 IBU beer. And then... And there you go. And then let's follow this through. When you're done, you use, I ferment in my bucket. And since I don't have a spigot, I'll have to use my siphon to get it into the keg. Then, because I have these cartridges that is not nearly enough to actually carbonate my beer, I have to keg condition the beer. So you do the same thing you would do in a bottle. You add sugar to the keg and you let the yeast ferment it. That's the only thing I can do because I don't have enough CO2 to carbonate it. Then you put that little guy on it and you serve out of the keg. Okay. Apparently I have a refrigerator as well. But you must too, because you're not going to drink that beer warm. That's gross. We have a refrigerator.
We're in Michigan.
My wife is angry because I've torn it apart to make room for a keg, but I have a refrigerator, dang it. And if you put that all together, I think it works out. Bonus point, if I bottled instead, I could have used that extra money on Whirlfloc taps, a less economical recipe, liquid yeast, and some kind of brewery wash to help me further from the Star Stand, like something that'll kind of wash off the grime. Yeah. But I didn't. I went with a kegging setup, so there I am. All right.
So I do have one more thing. I do have a way to beat you.
Okay.
And save $50.
$50. That's a lot.
That is a lot. Northern Brewer has a starter kit. In the starter kit, I will get a 5-gallon stainless steel brew kettle. 1 beer recipe kit of my choice. So I can choose a Block Party Amber Ale, a Chinook IPA, or Hank's Hefeweizen. I will get a siphonless 6.5 gallon fermenter with gasketed lid.
I'm assuming siphonless means it has a spigot.
Yes, I'm assuming as well. A bubbler airlock, a bottling bucket with spigot assembly, a testing equipment, which includes a triple scale hydrometer, test jar, and lab thermometer, a spring tip bottle filler, 21-inch stainless.
I don't have money for that. I'm free pouring into my bottles, baby.
A 21-inch stainless spoon, tubing.
That's so many more inches than you have.
I know, right?
So many more inches.
Cleaner and sanitizer, bottle brush, bottle capper with red caps, 60 count, a Homebrewing 101 course preview, and printed step-by-step instructions. I'm only missing bottles, but as we talked about, I can get those pretty easily.
Right. And you get Bud Light out of the deal, or Budweiser out of the deal. So it's not.
So the starter kit is $120.
Dang, man. So you throw on the Bud Light. How much did you pay for the Bud Light? Or the Budweiser?
$30 altogether. So $150.
So $150. You save $50.
You get
that is
everything,
a good deal, man.
Everything.
Yeah, that's really good. Cadillac Straits has a starter kit, and I don't know. This may be one of those like scale things where like I don't know if they can compete with that in terms of what you get.
Yeah,
like with the kit and stuff.
They get a recipe too, though.
But you'd be supporting your local.
Yeah, true. But to get a recipe,
the big
is the
thing.
big
Because I think
thing.
theirs is about $150, but I don't know that it comes with a recipe.
So like, and you get because I picked the Chinook IPA. Like you get the hops and grains. It's an extract recipe still, but like you get everything with it.
That is a pretty darn good deal. Man, yeah, and for $150 or for we'll say $150.
Yeah,
that is an extraordinarily good deal. And if you're looking to get into home brewing, like that is
a kit, right?
It's not much.
No,
like
that's not much at all.
$150, and it makes your first beer. So like imagine how much you would pay. You know, you got to subtract the cost of 40 to 50 beers. You know, 48 beers or whatever. If you were just going to drink craft beer, you'd pay for those. Yeah. That's going to cost money. So like, it's not bad. Like this hobby has never been cheaper to get into.
And like the one thing I will say it's missing is the cooling part of it.
Yeah. But
dry ice or regular ice, do an ice bath.
That's one thing that I actually didn't cover.
Ooh, no, that's true.
Which is that I was gonna, account for ice bags, but I didn't have money.
Yep.
So I would have to just run a cold bath, stick it in the bathtub.
I can tell you that takes a long time.
I've done it. It takes a lot of stirring and a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, I think in one of my misadventures I talked about the great flood of our kitchen.
Yes,
we ended up having to do that in the bath, but we also dumped a bunch of ice into it, but it still took forever.
Yeah.
Jeez, Jesus. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. No,
it works eventually.
I was about to say, as much work as we put into trying to figure out a $200 recipe and then finding that kit for $120.
A little dismaying.
Yeah. That was the first thing I saw actually, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save that. This as a cheat.
It was way more fun to put it together. And
yes.
Well, the other thing I would say is like, if you just want to screw around, get a Mr. Beer. Like,
yes,
I think the one real letdown of those, at least in the past, was always the recipe or the ingredients, because you know they sit on the shelf at Bed Bath for years or whatever. Yeah. But like, you could buy a Mr. Beer, buy ingredients, just make up ingredients for an extract recipe, and probably still be pretty cheap. And like that Mr. Beer stuff isn't going to last you, but it'll make you one or two, maybe even 4 or 5 good batches of beer. And then if you like it, then maybe you invest in like a real starter kit. But like,
how much is a Mr. Beer?
Let me Google it real quick.
Okay.
I don't imagine.
I know Elvis and I, my buddy, used to talk about it, getting a Mr. Beer, but never actually did it, obviously. But like, I don't know. I don't think they're that expensive. I would say like $50.
So it looks like, yeah. So I've got a, it's unclear. There's a subscription box. Hold on.
That's it. Come on.
So Mr. Beer, because I know I was on their website when I was doing research, because I did the same thing. I was like, you know, how simple do I want to be about this? Let's see. So they've got beer making kits.
So there's a Mr. Beer complete beer making 2-gallon starter kit, premium gold edition for $50.
Yeah. So that's quite cheap.
Yeah.
And it comes, I think, with bottles and stuff too. So like that's pretty cool. Like I said, really the only letdown is you're just like, one, they use hopped extract. So, you know, maybe don't do a beer that's based on hop flavor. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But 2, I would worry about the yeast. At least I would probably spend the $5 on quote unquote fresh dry yeast.
Yes.
Yes. or spend the $10 on because you made a ton of money back. I'd spend the $10 on like a good fresh liquid yeast.
Yes, yeah.
But still, like if you're not certain, why not? You know, what's the worst? The worst that can happen is you don't like it. You're out $50. That's not bad.
No,
You can spend more than that at one night out at a bar.
I'm about to say yeah.
You know, and if it works out for you, but yeah, that just add to, so, you know, we basically presented several levels of if you want to get into home brewing, like how big a risk do you want to take? The
Exactly,
biggest risk is $200, which to have a lifelong hobby, I would argue, isn't that much to try.
Yeah.
But like you can go down to 120, you could go down to 50.
Yeah.
It all depends on how committed you think you're going to be.
Exactly. And like even once you have the ingredients, or the equipment, you have the equipment. You don't need to buy it again.
Right.
So the next time you want to make a beer, I'm dropping $50 on a 5-gallon batch. So that's really not that bad.
No,
Think about it. If you're
really
doing
not.
5 gallons, that's 50 beers. You're paying $50. You're paying $1 a beer
Yeah.
for an I made an IPA. So
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't feel like I think extract you do pay a bit more for the
you
processing.
do, yes.
But like I don't know, I've done recipes for I think most of mine are 30 to 40.
Yeah.
If you're going whole grain, and really like it's not that hard to do whole grain anymore, or mostly grain. You
Yeah,
know,
and that's
you
usually what
could
I do,
always
yeah.
mash with like you could do half and half.
That's
you
what
can
I do,
kind of since you already have the nylon bag built into your setup, you could do as much grain as you want as long as it fits in your brew kettle.
Yeah.
You could do partial grain in less water, then add water and boil. Like you got tons of options if you're really that strapped for
Yeah.
cash.
Exactly.
Or just make a light lager like I did and throw a bunch of sugar in there to make up the alcohol content.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's really it's if you're interested in home brewing and your reason to not do it is because of money, it's not a real reason to use, because you can do it fairly cheap. I was able to afford this in college. I was broke in college.
Yeah.
So
The question is, what did you give up?
I mean, yeah, I guess. But
you gave up the beer money you would have spent on other people's beer.
Exactly.
There it is. You were going to spend it one way or
Exactly.
the other.
it was gonna be beer no matter what. And I made a beer of my own that I wanted.
Yep.
And like, even if you're new into brewing, if you have a home brew store near you, or even you go to Northern Brewer or something like that, they sell kits. Like you can buy the kit and it's still about roughly $40 to $50 a kit for a 5-gallon batch. And it's a full recipe
Right.
on how to do it. Your ingredients are included and it tells you exactly what to do, and you have your equipment because you already bought it. So you're buying your next kit and you're going to make the beer.
Yeah.
It's a really easy thing to get into, and then you can experiment more.
I think another key thing to bring up there too is like if you're nervous about getting started because of expertise, and or you just need some help like picking through what equipment you really need, just going into your local homebrew store and asking the people there. Like they're very knowledgeable. I'm sure they'd be happy to work with you if you said like, hey, you know, this is the money I'm working with. Or like, hey, I want your starter kit, but I have like no idea what I'm doing. Can you give me some tips? You know, the people there would be more than happy. You know, they're generally, I've never been in a homebrew store where the guy that helped me was not like real passionate about brewing. So
the brewing world and brewing family is very compassionate for each other. So if you walk,
it's a real
if you walk down to
collaborative
someone
kind of
who
feel.
has been doing this for 50 years and has won competitions, and you're brand new and don't know what you're doing, and you're asking for tips and advice, he'll sit you down and keep it simple for you.
Right. Yeah. And like, again, if you say, hey, I kind of want your kit, but I've got a hard $100 to spend. Like, can you help me cut corners? I don't know if they can, but maybe
They can at least get you closer to it.
or they might say, you know, and that's another thing that we sort of didn't bring up. Like, okay, if you want to make small batches, you could maybe use your soup pot to make a 1-gallon batch. You know,
That's 10 beers.
right? And you know, you could do that. You save the money on a brew kettle. You can buy a 2-gallon or a 1-gallon paint bucket. It's going to be, if you can't afford 5-gallon paint bucket, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But still, like there are, you know, we did 5-gallon batch. You don't have to. You can do smaller, and you know, we went real big to the point where we were buying spoons and
Yes.
screwdrivers, and you don't have to, you have that stuff. You have a stock pot probably. You might not have a 5-gallon one, but you might have one small enough to do most of the work. You do your mash in it. You pour that in the fermenter. You boil a little more water. You pour that in your bucket, and you kind of make up the.
And that's honestly what I do.
volume.
Honestly, I do. If I do a 5-gallon batch, I'm boiling 3 gallons of water. That's my build for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I move it into and I add it into
water,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that absolutely works. There's no reason you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it scales. And again, if you're not sure how to do that, just find your local homebrew shop, Google it, and they'll help you.
And there are plenty of apps out there that help with building recipes and help with how to understand what goes into what and
or
how
just
to build
do
it.
kits.
Or kits, yeah, exactly.
And some of the great things about kits is like a lot of times now they'll tell you, a lot of them, what exactly you're adding. So like you can learn from them. It's not just like a black box where it's like, well, make a good beer and don't worry about it because it's proprietary. It's like they'll tell you for the most part what is in the beer and what you're adding so that you can slowly pick up why what you're making tastes the way that it does. And it's a great place
and
to
they
start.
even clone some recipes. I've seen clones of like not even just like
PHATTYRE fat tire.
Yes.
I've seen that. That's on Northern
I've
Brewer,
seen that.
I think.
I've seen someone brew local breweries. Like there was a brewery.
Cadillac Straits does that, I think, where they have a couple of like Metro Detroit ones that they clone.
Well, you have a basic recipe of it, of what you could like and have from your local brewery, and you can make it yourself. Or just stick with the simple basics. Like they could be like, here's an Irish stout.
Right.
Here is an American lager. Here is an American amber ale. That is your basic recipe. Here's what you need for it. Oh, it's everything in this box. Follow these directions. You have a beer. 5 gallons of it, 50 beers. You're good to go.
Beer.
Hooray, beer. So like, it's very easy to do that. And then like, you can look online and find clones of said recipes if they don't have it there, and then you can go to the store and get the ingredients. And as we've shown, getting ingredients, especially more grains than extracts, it's not super expensive.
Yeah. And you can, the brands you pick, the hops you use, you can cut a lot of corners. Citra is going to cost you a lot more than Cascade.
Yes.
Cascade, weirdly, was like the cheapest hop.
It was for me too, yes.
I wonder if they're just like Michigan Cascade, and that's why, because they don't have to be shipped. But like, yeah,
I got 2 ounces for
like
$4.58.
weirdly cheap. It was like even cheaper than hops that I assumed were like made to be budget hops, like Cluster or like I don't know, like Hallertau Hersbrucker. But that was weird. And then like, if you just do your standard like Brees pale malt, brewer's malt, like that's not going to run you much. There are a lot of things you can do there. So yeah. All right. I think we're being a dead horse at this point. So
exactly.
If
you have any questions, just do it. Do it.
Just do it.
We went totally different directions there.
Okay. So if you would like to find the podcast, whether it be to comment on our first sip about expensive hobbies you are avoiding getting into, whether it's about your experience getting started homebrewing or any tips you have about getting started for cheap, you can find us on Twitter at Brewthers-In-Law. That's all one word. Or similarly, all one word, Brewthers-In-Law.com, our website, where you'll find more information about our episodes and our show in general. Ryan, where else can people find you online?
If you want to talk to me directly, anything non-beer related, so Zelda, Marvel, Star Wars, anything else fun.
These are Ryan's hot button topics.
Yes. You can reach me at Rambo Kuhn. That's RAMBOKUHN. If you want to talk beer, you can reach out to me directly at Wise Old Owl Brew. Or if you want to check me out at TikTok, I'm at Wise Old Owls Brew as well. And then you can check out Brewthers-In-Law on Instagram, on Facebook, on our website, as Mike stated, and on Twitter as well, as Mike stated. Anywhere, we're pretty much everywhere at this point. If you can't find us, there's something wrong.
You too, your house just burned down and you don't have a computer or a cell phone.
The library's still there. It's free internet.
That's true. Yeah.
But again, you can find us on Apple, you can find us on Google, you can find us on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find our podcasts with the rest of the 6.5 Media family. You can check out other podcasts within that family as well. I think that's it. I think we've beaten this dead horse, as you said.
I think we beat it into the ground. Cheers, my man.
Cheers, everybody.